What is up, everyone? Welcome to the video. This is Wolfie here from the Rage Traders, and today I've got an absolute banger for you around NRL Supercoach and basically reasons why you struggle and suck at Supercoach. Now, I'm just going to put this out there and say I'm not trying to say that I am the best, the bee's knees, and 20 times better than you, and you just completely about at the game. I'm coming at a point of things you do and things you need to get into the frame of doing to make you better at Supercoach Fantasy. Now, before we get into this, please like, subscribe, comment if you're watching on YouTube, and of course 5-star reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That would be greatly appreciated. Everything brand new, up and running, and I'm trying to get as much Supercoach NRL content out for you guys because I'm hyped. I know you're hyped, and you can't wait for Supercoach to come around. It's so close. So thank you so much for the support. As always, the recent views and just support I've had on the videos has been absolutely amazing. So thank you for that. All right, let's get into it. Now, I'm not going to go in like an order of anything. I jotted down some notes here. So if you've seen the YouTube video, why I keep looking down, it's because of that. But the first thing I wrote was FOMO actually hurts you. And for me personally, I've only played 2 seasons of Supercoach. My first season, completely learning how it works, I go about 21,000 rank. My second season, I go about 560 rank. So I really came from a perspective of why I did okay and then why I did quite well and what I changed. And I started with FOMO actually hurts you. Now, if you don't know what FOMO is, fear of missing out. And a lot of the times before a game sort of starts, maybe you've decided, maybe you've seen that everyone has started going Karaz. He's a highly traded player in, and Bulldogs are versing, someone on a Thursday night, and you're getting close to kickoff, and you're like, oh, maybe I should just get him in. No, that's it. He's in. And I think this type of habit is really, really bad. And for me, this goes against you trusting your instinct. And I'm a big, big Supercoach player of trusting what you've decided to do. And if no injuries have happened, if nothing's happened to sort of change the possible outcome of your player scoring, just stick with it. Now, sometimes you may be wrong. Maybe one time you should said, okay, I should have gone Karaz. He gets a 90, but then the next 2 weeks he gets a 40. So you can't base everything off the one game. And yes, it can be a mistake, but don't sit there with your phone or your computer going, still trading, still doing things. Stick with your instinct, because in the long run, FOMO is going to hurt you, and it's not actually going to be beneficial for you. FOMO is just something where you're reading too much information from other people and thinking, wow, have I actually made the wrong decision? Trust your gut. Don't have a fear of missing out, and just learn from it if you did something wrong. That's all it is. Now, next, on top of that, I've got holding through the pain can turn into a great gain and pod play. Now, so many times we let go of a player, and sometimes they can be a cheapie. Maybe it's someone like a Thomas Jenkins. Maybe it was someone like Iongi. These 2 players I held pretty heavily, especially Iongi, and it worked out for the better for me. Now, just because someone is doing bad or average and we expected them to be better doesn't mean we always have to get rid of them. Now, why I love holding a player is because it can sometimes turn into a free sort of pod play. So I don't need to get someone in and waste a trade. Everyone's getting rid of them, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hold. I believe that they will do better. And if they do better, that's when not only you're getting points in, you're making money, they've then become a pod for you because the ownership was low because everyone traded them out. Now, I'm not talking about a player like Kalen Ponga where things aren't looking good. The Knights were looking horrible last season and everyone sort of got him out pretty quickly. Some people waited too long and it really burnt them. And it got to a point where he's like $500,000 and you're like, well, I've held him this long now. I just have to hold him. You don't want to get to those points. But for people or players that are like 400,000, 350,000, maybe they're a type of cheapie that just hasn't blasted off yet. Look at the draw. Don't just be like, okay, the draw's amazing, they're going to do well. But look at how they're playing. Look at how the team's playing. Try and analyze some things and maybe say to yourself, is this a possible hold I can do that is going to be absolutely amazing for me? And look, not all the times these holds will work out. But if it does work out, let's say you do 2 times where you hold, one of them actually doesn't work out, the other one does, I can guarantee you the outweigh from the one that you held that worked out to the one that didn't will be much more positive for you, because they're going to make a ton more money or get you points, and you're going to be in the low ownership. So that's my thoughts on holding through the pain can turn into a great game. Next is comparing my 2 seasons. My first season where I played super safe, I tried to save trades and come home really, really strong. And then comparing it to my next season where I was super, super aggressive in the first 3 rounds, boosting, getting really aggressive and trying to get the players in form in, or the players that I thought were going to score a lot of points. There was a vast difference for me on how I started and how I sort of propelled into the top 1,000. And I would have been close to top 100 with ease if I just brought in and did like a few things differently. That obviously it's part of the game. But I think being aggressive in a Supercoach format in the first 3 rounds, in my opinion, is a must, unless you've just had the most goated start, everything is perfect, and the people that everyone are getting in you've already had. That's fair enough. But being aggressive, boosting in the first 3 rounds for me, I think is a must. I think you just have to, because of the way Supercoach is suited and how it works. The way that it works, if you don't know, is essentially the first 2 rounds, there's no player price changes. So you could have someone that's $800,000 literally score 10 points and you will not get punished until they play their 3rd game. So it works on a 3-round rolling average. So what happens is a lot of people, they will have a player go average, they'll hold them for another round and they hope they do better. And if they go average again, they'll most probably get them out so that they don't lose a ton of money. What I love to do is be aggressive, use like a bunch of trades in the first 3 rounds and sort of get my foundation set up, and then sort of try and ease off and do 1 trade weeks from there and like leverage it or balance it out. So that's how I sort of attack things. Now, again, if your team is goated and you've had a great start, you don't have to do this, but I always think aggression early on in Supercoach is going to be more valuable for you. And if you're a type of player that's listening right now and you're more safe and conservative, maybe just for 1 season, just say to yourself, you know what? This season, I'm going to be a menace. I'm just going to play it a bit differently and see how it goes and test it out. Because that's what I did on my 2nd season. And it felt really good. It felt like I was keeping up with people. It felt like I was getting the most of the right people. And it just worked with the Supercoach format. Now, in things like NRL Fantasy, where things can change in an instant and prices change in an instant, that's where you need to be reactionary super, super quick. You need to just do things week to week. But in Supercoach, because we get information of trades, we can tend to hold on players that aren't going to change until the 3rd round. But sometimes you can change these players super quick. For example, Kalen Ponga might get a 20 in the 1st round. Let's say he gets a 20 or a 30 and Knights look abysmal. Right there and then you could say, man, Knights, if they're looking like this at home, I don't want to know what they're looking like away. And you get rid of him straight away. Don't even wait for the 2nd round. These type of things could actually propel you because you're getting 1 step ahead of people. Because what people generally do in Supercoach is they will wait for the 2nd round, watch the game, see how everything goes. They'll be a bit patient, and then they'll trade out heavy for the 3rd so that they don't get crashed and lose a lot of money from the prices falling. But again, this could be an opportunity where you actually go on the 2nd round, be a bit more aggressive, and try and catch these players out, and the price drops 1 round earlier. I wrote down here, don't be scared to pull the plug when you know you've made a horrible trade or hold. And we spoke about this a bit early, but I think admitting that you've done an average trade or play or hold is completely fine, and it's part of Supercoach. There's a lot of times where I've taken a risk. Maybe I've taken a pod play, and you know what? For example, I was super close to going a Jacob Saifidi in like mid-season last season for the Newcastle Knights. I'm pretty sure it's Jacob, not Daniel, that plays for them. I liked his base. I liked what he was doing, and I ended up not doing it. And over the course of the weeks, he went really average, and then he got injured. But again, I'm looking for things that I'm going to do that I'm going to be different. I'm going to find a pod, and I'm not scared about it. Now, don't fear what you're doing in NRL Supercoach. Don't be scared to pull the plug when things go wrong and you've done something incorrectly. It's part of the game. Say it. I made a mistake. Boom. On to the next. I guarantee you every single fantasy player in every single sport that has come first in the season, if you said to them, where do you think you made a mistake? They will be able to answer a question because they definitely did something incorrect, but they just managed it. And that's all NRL Supercoach is. That's all Supercoach and fantasy is managing the worst outcomes. And one other thing I'd like to say on top of that is when I'm looking at my team during the NRL season, I don't know if you guys know like maths and all that, but there's a term called BODMAS. And the only thing I remember, because I hated school, right? The only thing I remember from BODMAS was you always get rid of the ugliest part of the equation first. So when I look at my NRL Supercoach team, the first thing I say when it comes to possibly trading is when I look at my team, what is the most scariest and ugly part about it? Whether it be I've got no money invested into 2RF and I need to get a better player there that's more consistent, like let's say an Eli Katoa or a Hudson Young, or someone's just losing way too much cash and it feels awful, just get rid of them. I always look at my team as what is the ugliest part first. All right. Following your instinct will make you a better player long term. Okay, so we did touch on this before, but the key words here is long term. Now, you will definitely hate yourself at some points when you follow your instinct and make a wrong decision. It is 100% going to happen. But with NRL Supercoach last year, I went with my gut. I did a lot of things right, and yes, I did things wrong, but all in all, it felt really, really good. And I want to like really say to you, just go for your instinct. Maybe don't read as much information. Maybe don't go into the live chats and just ask everyone, what do you think I should do here? I see it all the time. Do you think I should go Kraz over Herbie Farnworth? Do you think I should go Mitchell Moses over Nathan Cleary for these next 3 weeks, then try and get Cleary in? Do you think Hines is better than Cleary and I should just go for Hines and like pod play it a bit? Oh, do we really need Payne Haas? All these questions, they're just going to muddle your mind. I mean, it's fair to ask questions, but if you continually ask questions over and over and get people to make your fantasy team for you, it's going to be rough. And this is why you struggle. Trust everything. Watch some of the games if you can, and just go with your instinct. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Just learn from it. Next, I have, you don't always have to wait until the max point of a break even to trade out. This is something I don't really see people speaking about a lot. If you don't know how a break even works, essentially your player has a break even number. So that number is what they need to score to then for you to make money. For example, their break even number could be 20. So if that person scores 21 points, you're then going to make money. If they're at negative 30, it means they're guaranteed to make money if they play. All they need to do is score more than 0 points. Now, what you can also do in fantasy, and look, it is a money managing game, yes, but let's say Scott Drinkwater had a break even of, let's say 23, okay? And people think he's definitely getting over 23. They're up against the Roosters. It could be a field fest. Let's say they're up against the Bulldogs, who have a better defense from last season. Now, a lot of people would say, I'm going to hold him and then I'll trade him out next week because he's likely to get over 23, and then I'll make a bit more money. It could be 10, 15, 20,000, and I've managed him perfectly. However, that may not be the perfect play, because if you think he's up against an average defense or a good defense, or he's not going to score as much points, maybe he scores a 35, but you trade him out one round earlier, you use the cash to get someone that maybe has a better draw or a better play or maybe a higher ceiling, or someone that you think is going to score better. Let's say you trade him out for Marky Mark from the Roosters, and Marky Mark gets an 80. Of course, that is going to be a better play. Let's say he gets a 50. That is still going to be a better play. Even if Marky Mark had a break even of 50, you're still going to get more points. Don't always follow the break even straight down to the core. Just try and manage efficiently, because if you see that there's an opening on someone and they're in the fullback position, and the only person you can think of getting rid of is Drinkwater because maybe he has a tough upcoming draw, Cowboys aren't playing good, don't be scared of trading someone out that might have a 20 break even, that might have a 30 break even, or even like a 10 break even. Just go, who cares? I'll go for it. They're versing a hard defense. I don't think he'll score that much. And if that works off, you're one step ahead of people who have a high ownership player. I hope that makes sense. Okay. I've talked about this next point. I'm not going to mention that again. Don't always follow the draw. An average team with a great draw doesn't mean anything. What that means is essentially, and I'm actually a massive, massive culprit of this. Last season, everyone was getting Clint Gutherson in. He was scoring insane at the start of the season. I'm sure you remember it. And his draw looked okay. And I said, I have to get him in. I have to. He's just tearing it up. Everyone's got him. FOMO again. And I'm like, his draw looks nice. But I didn't think about the team. I just thought about how they've been playing. And we knew who the real Dragons were. I got him in and it went very, very poorly. Again, a bad trade from me and a bad mistake. But what I did was I let the draw impact my trade. Now, I'm not saying that you can't always look at the draw. The draw is there for a reason. Melbourne have a nice upcoming draw at the start of the season. You have to look into that. But if it's an average team who has an okay or good draw, doesn't mean they're going to utilize and actually take advantage of that, because they're an average team. Now, if it's a Roosters team, if it's a Melbourne Storm or a Canterbury Bulldogs, it's a completely different story. If it's a top 4 team like Penrith, Brisbane Broncos, completely different story. I'm more talking about an average, 9th, 10th, 11th, who maybe struggle a bit. Don't look into those draws heavily and be like, oh, well, they must do good. Oh, Warriors are playing St. George at home, and then they've got the Seagulls who aren't in good form away. I have to get RTS in right now. Don't get sucked in by the draw. Use it as a utility piece or information piece, but don't let it suck you in all the time. The draw can be very, very misguiding, but it also can be very helpful as well. But again, that's what I wanted to get to with the draw. I hope I'm not convoluting you with information, but I mean, this is just what I've learned from, and I could be wrong on some of these things, but I hope this is helping you in some way. If it isn't, still subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Next, I've got, sometimes going the most traded player in can be wise as you're creating less risk. So I know I've talked about pod plays, but when in doubt, you can just take the easy route and you can go the most traded in player if you want and just be like, cool, done. And if issues happen, guess what? Everybody else has him. And what I like to do in Supercoach, if you don't do it, is you can actually look at trades in percentages from the top 1%, the top 5%. I think it's the top 10 and top 20. I'm not sure if it's top 20. And then maybe overall, I can't remember. It's been a while. And I actually utilize that because I like looking at what the top 1% is doing compared to the like overall or top 10, top 20. And that's a good way to get different information, because sometimes when you click top 1%, you actually see a different player come in that people in the top 20 or so on aren't actually going. And that's maybe something that you've overlooked or you haven't seen. And yeah, that's my piece of information on that. Hope that helps. You will never win by going the same team as everyone else. Learn to take educated risks with a pod. Again, I know I just talked about sometimes you just trade in the most traded in player, but if you have a template team all the way throughout Supercoach, you will never win. Yes, we have parts of templates and we have parts of a team that everyone has, your Payne Hasses, your Terrell Mays. But last season, people didn't win because they had Payne Haas and Terrell May. Everyone had Payne Haas and Terrell May. They won because they were captaining the right player. They won because they had a pod center wing or a pod fullback, or their hooker was just doing really well. Like they had Blake Brayley early and no one else did. These are the little things that will make you get to a top and higher rank. Okay. So don't focus on the trade-ins all the time and be like, okay, I'll just do what everyone else is doing, or looking at the videos of content creators like myself, SC Playbook, all these guys, Insight, everyone like this, SC Experience, all these guys, and be like, oh, they're all doing this, I'll just do that. No, because you're just matching everyone else and you're never going to get better because you're just following a transcript. You're not following an instinct or anything. Now, to say that, if a lot of content creators are saying, you know, this is a big play and everyone else is doing it, maybe in that situation it is the right play, but don't do that every time. Don't do that every time. The last thing I'm going to say is start with a team that has less risk and more chance of making money. Now, you might scoff at this comment, but I play a lot of AFL fantasy, and I donate to a guy that releases a yearly sort of, it's like a membership that you pay for, and he gives you an in-depth analysis on all the players. And one correlating factor between fantasy and success is that essentially when they have their starting teams, they only have about 2 or 3 Uber premiums. Now, that is an Uber premium is a player that is basically at high value. So for me personally, what I'm trying to say is don't go Terrell May, Payne Haas, Nathan Cleary, James Tedesco, Hudson Young. That's way too much. That's also making your team have way too much risk. In terms of saying that, that then means you have multiple or a high chance of more fires that you need to put out early on. On top of that, that then also means that if you have fires that you need to put out, these high risk players where their price tag is high, that is then lowering the chance of you being able to get more cheapies in the starting 2 to 3 weeks, which is paramount. So if you have a team that has 2 Uber premiums or 3 max, for example, maybe I have Harry Grant, James Tedesco, and 1 more. And I'm like, you know what? I'm happy with that, and I'll leave it at that. That means I only have to worry about 3 people in a sense, because all my other people, I think, are underpriced and they're actually going to project higher and make me money. You should only be worrying about making money early in Supercoach, surrounded by, I would say, 2 to 3 Uber premiums, in my opinion. Now, maybe you aren't like that. Maybe like every player just has to make money. That's completely fine. But I think there has to be a balance between making money and still achieving points. And that's the way that I come at that. So you'll see my team reveal. If you haven't seen it, go look it up on YouTube. Go search it on Spotify. There's a bit of balance between that. You know, and there's a reason why my front row forwards aren't too heavy, and I had Hopgood and Naf White in there, because I don't think there's a huge amount of risk in those. And that's it, guys. They are the basic tips I would say that I would give you to be a better Supercoach player, to just become more confident in NRL fantasy Supercoach for 2026. I hope you've actually like found that this was helpful to you. I was a bit worried about doing this video because I was like, is this going to come off as like cocky? And I don't want it to at all. I just want to give you insight to the way I kind of think, or the way I think fantasy should be played, especially in Supercoach. And if you found anything super like important or valuable, great. And if you have any comments that you think, well, you should have also stated this, or maybe just something that you found really successful and helpful in your own fantasy game, let me know in the comments. It would be absolutely amazing to see, and I'll definitely reply. And yeah, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching the Rage Traders NRL Supercoach 2026. Let's just call it a tips video on how you can be a better Supercoach player. I'll see you on the next one. Wolfie here from the Rage Traders. Take care, guys. Much love.